Hey guys, it's Logan again. Welcome back to another tutorial on creating an advanced platformer in GameMaker Studio 2. In this video, we're going to be going over creating our running animation, our jumping animation, and our falling animation. And I'm going to show you how to create those in GameMaker's image editor and then apply them in code. So the first thing we're going to need to do is duplicate our player. So just hit Control D. It's going to create another instance. Not an instance, another sprite. And what states are we going to have for this? So we're going to have an idling state or an idle animation. And then we're going to have a jumping state and a falling state. And since those are going to be one frame a piece, we're going to combine those into one sprite and just two different image indexes. And then we're going to have a running state, and that's going to also be a separate sprite. So the first one I want to create is a running animation. So with that duplicated sprite, let's go ahead and rename it and name it sPlayer Run. Yeah, sPlayer Run's fine. And let's open that up and go into Edit It. And then we need to set our grid right here, 4x4, and make sure we're snapped. And I'm going to kind of turn down the alpha so we don't really see the grid any longer. And I like to pull up a reference like this came from Google. And you'll see that we have some things that we can kind of draw from this. Number one is that when the front leg is forward, our torso is kind of turned towards us from the platformer perspective. So when the torso is turned towards us, we could see more of his eyes over here. And when the torso is turned away from us, which is when his back foot is forward, he's kind of turned away. So we could kind of remove some of his eye. And we might do that later, but I was just bringing that to your attention. The big thing is there's this bob when he runs. See this smooth bob? And we can kind of make this in our little guy. Even though he's such little pixels, his bob is really noticeable. It's kind of jittery, but it still looks decent and it gives the effect that he's moving. The other thing is we need to have both legs out, front leg down, and then both legs out with the back leg down and the front leg up. So we can kind of represent that with our 1 pixel, and I'll show you how to do that. And then also we need to have two separate frames of his legs being in, kind of together. And when his legs are together is when he's going to go down 1 pixel. He's kind of going to bob. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So like I said, the first thing is we need to bring his legs together. I need to increase my brush size to 4. There we go. And I'm going to bring both of his legs in 1 pixel and then hit E for my eraser and erase the outer pixels that we originally had. So now his legs are both in. And what else happens in this frame? Well, he bobs, but before we start that, let's go ahead and copy and paste the image twice. And now we can work with it and still reserving the original image in a separate frame. So I'm going to hit D for my pencil. And I'm going to start moving these inner pixels down. Now, I don't want to move this outline down. I think that would be too much of a change. So we're going to leave all this outside the same. And we're just going to move his head down. So first I'm going to start at the top. So I'm going to select this light blue and kind of erase a pixel from the top of his head. Then I'm going to select the dark blue and kind of erase a pixel from the top of his eye. And then the light blue again to erase the last piece of his eye. Then I'm going to grab the white and kind of come below his original eyes. And then the same with the gray. And now I've moved all those pixels down 1. And now we just need to move his pupils down 1. So I'm going to move his pupils down. I'm going to select the white and recolor the top pixels. And we can see what this looks like first, and then if we need to make changes, we will. So, like I said, there needs to be two frames of him doing this image. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this. And let's bring the second one to be our third frame in our animation. And now let's go to the second frame. So now we have one with him bobbing down, one with him up, one with him bobbing down, one with him up. So now let's do his legs. Let's go to the second frame and let's do his back leg up and his front leg down. And I'm going to hit eraser and erase the original legs. And you'll see that's really simple. Back leg up, front leg down. I'm going to go to the final frame, the fourth frame. I'm going to do his front leg forward, or his front leg up and his back leg down. I'm going to erase the original legs. And let's run the animation and see what that looks like. That looks decent. Let's kind of slow it down a bit. Put 10 for the speed and hit enter. That doesn't look too awful. You can kind of see it down here. Let's kind of move the rest of his helmet down here. So I'm going to grab this dark gray. I'm going to color in below it and save this brown pixel. So I'm going to color underneath the helmet there. And then we need to actually bring the head down. Extend the head. I need to grab that gray. I'm actually going to bring the black down right here. I kind of went a little fast. Oh, I did it on the wrong frame, guys. Control Z out. Apologize for that. Oops. I'm going to do redo. Okay, to get back to my original. We need to be on the one with his legs in. I was wondering why it looked so off. So I went to the one with his legs in after I undid everything I just did to that second frame. And we're going to do that same thing. So I'm going to do under the helmet, do the dark brown, and then do the head. Oops. Control Z is always undo, and then I'm actually going to take this black and bring it down one. And then I'm going to delete my other frame, my third frame that also has those legs in. And I'm going to copy and paste the first frame and then reorder them again. So you should have something like this now, and that looks pretty decent. That looks much better, actually. All right, so I'm going to make sure that you guys get here. I'm going to go over it one more time. Our first frame, legs in. We moved all the pixels inside of his helmet down, and then we moved this dark gray at the bottom of his helmet down, along with the dark brown down 1 pixel. And then in the second frame, we didn't change the head at all. All we did was move the legs, the back leg up, the front leg down. Then in the third frame, this was a duplicate of the first frame. And then in the fourth frame, his front leg up and his back leg down without the body or the head changing. And let's set our image speed to 10. This actually affects how it plays in GameMaker. And now let's exit out of our run animation. So the next animation we're going to have is jumping and falling. And we're going to duplicate our original 1-frame S-Player sprite. So I'm going to hit Control D. I'm going to move it under these two. I'm going to hit F2 and name it S-Player in Air. Because remember, we're going to do 2 different frames, jumping and falling inside of the sprite. So open up your sprite, edit image, and let's copy and paste this frame. So we have 2 frames. So I did Control C, Control V. And then select your pencil tool. We're going to have to increase our brush size again because GameMaker doesn't remember. And then we're going to have to snap on the grid once more. And now we're just going to change 2 things. So the first frame is going to be him jumping. All we're going to do is erase the forward leg. Like his leg is kind of up in the air now, but you can't see it because it's 1 pixel. And then we're going to change his pupils to be looking upward. So he's kind of looking where he's going. And I just put it in the top right corner of the eyes. And now we're going to move on to the second frame. And we're going to change the pupils to look down. Remember, I'm holding Control to grab these colors. That's how I'm switching colors so fast. And I'm going to go to my eraser and erase the back leg. And then I'm actually going to erase the front leg, hit D for my pencil, grab the black, and I'm going to put the front leg at the very front of this base down here. So now we have our jumping and falling animations and frames. And hopefully you're with me. And let's go to our original player sprite and name it sPlayer idle instead of just sPlayer. And you should have something that looks exactly like this over in our resources. And if you're with me now, we'll keep moving. And now we're going to create a new script. And this new script is going to handle our animations. Now we could go into our different states and do the animations inside of our states, but then it's kind of clunky to add animations later on and things like that. So we're going to create a new script under our players group. And we're going to name it scr underscore update player animation. And that's it. And then let's go into our player while we're thinking about it, into the step event, and make sure that we're going to execute our update player animation script. So I just typed that out under our update player movement script. So it's going to update our movement, and then we're going to update our animation based on where our movement is at. All right, so let's go back to our update player movement script. I'm going to maximize mine. Oh, not update player movement, sorry. Update player animation. I'm going to move it under my update player movement on the resources. So I'm going to open up my animations tab. And then now I'm going to program the animations. So let's use another switch case thing, just like we did for our different states. So we're going to use our state machine to help update our animations. So let's do switch, and let's do vert state, because we're checking what our vertical state is at the moment. And let's do case, do your brackets, and then inside let's do a case being on the ground. And what two things could we be doing while in the on-ground state? This actually needs to be player state.onground. While we're in our on-ground state, oh wait, it's vertical state, not player state. We changed that forever ago and I keep doing that. So it's case vertical state.onground. And while we're on the ground, we can be running or we can be idle. So we can be stopped or we can be moving. So we need to do a check for that. So if our x speed equals 0, then we're obviously idle. So then our sprite index needs to be changed to our sPlayer idle sprite. And that's basically it. And then if we aren't idle, then we're moving. So we need to be in our, so we need to use else. We need to be in our running animation. So we change our sprite index to sPlayer run. So again, just to recap, we're in a switch statement. We're checking for our case to be on ground, so we're checking our vert state to be equal to vertical state.onground. And if it is, that's going to execute all the code in this block. And actually at the end of this block, we need to write break, so we can break out, and none of the other code in our switch statement is executed. So once this gets called, it's basically going to execute out of the script if our switch is all we have in here. So let's go down and check for our next case underneath our second to last bracket. And let's do case vertical state dot in air. Right, not in air, falling. And then we're going to do a colon. That's just the syntax of the switch statement and the cases. So we have case vertical state dot falling. So if we're falling, we need to switch to our in air sprite and switch to the second frame in our in air sprite, this frame, which is going to be indexed at 1 because they're base 0. So every sprite's first frame is indexed 0. So for our falling state, we need to change our image or our sprite index equals s player falling, or in air, sorry, keep getting those confused, and change our image index to be 1. And let's copy and paste this entire case after you're done. Image index equals 1. And then we're going to copy the whole case from the bracket to bracket. We're going to go underneath and paste. Remember, I'm using Control C to copy and Control V to paste. And remember, we need our break at the end of each of these blocks of code. So I'm going to use a break underneath each of the image indexes. And for the one we just copy and pasted, let's change it to vertical state dot jumping and change our sprite index into sPlayer in air once again, but our image index is going to be set to 0. So this is what I just wrote out. And finally, we're going to check if we are jetpacking. So we're going to do case vertical state dot jetpacking. And in this case, it's going to be exactly the same as jumping for now. So let's just copy and paste what's inside the jumping case and paste it into our jetpacking case. And the reason that we're doing this in a separate case is because we are going to add more to the jetpacking state later on, with our jetpack being a separate animation. So we're going to do jetpack and eyes in the next video. So let's go ahead and hit play and see what happens. Okay. And you'll see it looks kind of weird when we are slowing down right now, because our animation's still playing full speed ahead as our player is barely moving. And that looks kind of weird, moonwalking a bit. And you'll notice another little issue. Our eyes kind of twitch when we are at the peak of our jump right before we are jetpacking. So we're going to fix both of those right now. So the first one is we need to set our image speed if we're running. So let's go to our on ground state. If our X speed is not 0, then we're running. We need to change our image speed to be our X speed divided by our max run speed. So this is going to be a ratio between 0 and 1, basically. So as our X speed slows down from our friction, this value is going to become less, which means our image speed is going to decrease with it. If our X speed is at our max run speed, then it would be 1. So it'd be, if our X speed was 5 and our max run speed was 5, then it'd be 5 divided by 5, which is 1. So we're going full speed ahead, but as our X speed slows down, this returns a smaller and smaller number, thus decreasing our image speed. So our animation should slow down along with our player, and you can kind of see it. It looks really nice. It's really cool. It looks way better now. And the second thing we need to do is fix that annoying glitch in the transition between falling and jetpacking. So for the falling state, remember we're transitioning to falling if our Y speed is at 0, and then we're transitioning to jetpacking. So we can get around this by using, in our falling case, if Y speed is greater than 1. So if our Y speed is 0, then we don't want to switch to our falling sprite or our falling image. So we only want that to happen if we're actually falling. And if our Y speed is 0, we're not actually falling. That's the state we are in, but that's just so we can transition to the jump or the jetpacking state in our code. That's from one of the previous videos. So now it shouldn't have that weird twitch, but you'll notice it does have a weird twitch when we let go now. And this is because it's actually playing the animation. It's kind of odd. So how we can fix this is by setting our image speed equal to 0 in that falling state. We're actually going to do this for all the single image states. So I'm going to copy the image speed. Remember, this is at the end of our falling. I'm going to do the same for jumping and the same for jetpacking. And I just put the image speed in each of the different cases. And now that little error should be fixed also. There you go. Now you have a smooth transition between the different animations. Yeah, it looks really nice. And then we have our little running animation. And there you go, your player is looking more lively. In the next couple videos, we'll be doing the idle eyes blinking and his eyes moving around, as well as animating his jetpack while he's moving up and down. Awesome. If you guys liked this video, please like, and if you haven't already, subscribe. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. And like I said, we'll be doing his eyes and probably animating his gun and a little other couple changes and really bringing the character to life. Awesome. I'll see you guys next time. Y'all have a good day.